Hi everyone. Tonight we're at the Huntington Theater on Huntington Avenue in Boston, and tonight we are going to be reviewing Fun Home, the musical Fun Home. So, did I like it? Let's find out. Welcome to This Week in Massachusetts Theater. Talk to you in a bit. Bye. Hi everyone. So welcome to episode 12 of This Week in Massachusetts Theater, brought to you by METRMag. That's Massachusetts Entertainment Theater Review Magazine. It's a lot shorter to say METRMag, so that's the reason for that. So this week it's going to be probably a quick and easy listen or reviewing for many of you. We're just going to look at two shows this week. We're reviewing Fun Home, the musical Fun Home, which just started at the Huntington Theater Company on Huntington Avenue in Boston. And then we're also going to take a look at the Lyric Stage Company in Boston, their production of A Sherlock Carol, which combines the iconic characters of Sherlock Holmes and Ebenezer Scrooge and a lot of Easter eggs for a holiday Christmas show that is sure to amuse many people. So it was a fabulous week, and I hope you enjoy these reviews, and we'll be back in a little bit to talk about what's going to be coming up probably the week after Thanksgiving. All right, see you in a bit. Bye-bye.
Huntington Theater Company has brought to the stage the sensitive, multi-layered musical Fun Home, giving many outsiders a chance to look inside a family that chose not to look at what was apparent and right there in front of them before it was too late. Throughout the melancholy story, set in the 1970s and as written by Janine Tesori, Lisa Krohn, and Alison Bechdel, the Fun Home audience experiences Alison Bechdel's evolution as she shares memories that reflect different stages of her life. Some moments reminiscent are humorous, even celebratory, others not so much. The story of Fun Home is based on Bechdel's best-selling graphic novel and memoir, and the Huntington tale is told in an extremely intricate and exceptionally designed set, elegantly staged by director Logan Ellis, supplemented by fine choreography by Tavon Campbell. The musical also features a top-notch house band located on a level above the stage, almost appearing as a painting hanging on the wall of the Bechdel home itself, and which is conducted by Huntington Theater Company music director Jesse Rosso. Fun Home originally won 5 Tony Awards, including Best Musical, and with this latest staging by Ellis and the remarkable Huntington creative team and ensemble, follows the character of Allison through 3 significant phases of her life. We first witness Bechdel's initial queerness feelings emerge during childhood, as seen through the eyes of small Allison, played by Lila Randall. Randall performs a beautiful rendition of the musical's most noted song, Ring of Keys, as small Allison recalling her very first crush. It should be noted that while the musical does have a reputation for being depressing or maudlin, there are some extremely amusing moments here, as well as thankfully infusing some much-needed fun into Fun Home, at least for this Huntington production. One of the brighter moments comes from the Bechdel children, specifically small Allison with brothers Christian, played by Odin Vega, and John, played by Caleb Levin, when they perform the delightfully upbeat Come to the Fun Home. The young actors in this Huntington Theater production deserve tremendous praise for their collective contribution to a musical in which some of the content might be considered highly elevated and, as such, could it be at times emotionally quite difficult. However, these 3 actors appear to handle the material like pros, perhaps because they are. As the story progresses, and as Allison matures, the identity of her preferred sexuality becomes fully actualized during her college years, as seen through the eyes of medium Allison, played by Maya Jacobson. And the direction of the show soon takes us on a road to despair and disappointment with no turns and no off-ramp. Jacobson showcases a rare talent for recognizing pivotal moments when sometimes an actor can say so much with just a simple look or a glance, instinctively reacting on stage to much of what is going on around medium Allison. Jacobson also does a splendid job rendering the song about meeting Allison, describing her first real love in the song, Changing My Major. The ongoing complexities of Allison's family and the revelations of seeing her parents as they truly were is recalled by Allison as an adult, played by Sarah Bockel, who serves as our point of view throughout the show. Thanks to how the show is constructed and under the direction of Logan Ellis, the fine collection of Allisons blends so well that the trio is decisively believable as the one central character. Fun Home is a story not just about a young girl, not just about her sexual identity, not just about her family's acceptance and or denial of emergence. Fun Home is more about love itself in every aspect, but mostly in the acceptance of a kind of love existing in a time when acceptance was overwhelmed by intolerance. My, how times have changed. The Huntington Theatre Company musical shines a light on Allison's emergence and ultimate embrace of her own sexuality. However, it simultaneously showcases Allison's seemingly wanting relationship with her troubled father, the emotionally distant Bruce, played by Nick Ducart, who is shown to have endured multiple of demons after decades of suppressing his own queer identity. As anguished as Bruce is, his wife Helen, played by Jennifer Ellis, finds herself in the position of sharing in the concealment of her husband's closeted gay life. Jennifer Ellis is quite compelling in the role of Helen, showing us the depth of Helen's distress over her life's choices conveyed to Allison in the moving and cautionary Days and Days. Not really a spoiler here, but adding more for context. Born in 1936, Allison Bechdel's father, Bruce, was only 44 years old when he died in 1980. Having grown up in the 70s and 80s myself, I can attest to losing people in my own life who perhaps may have felt as deeply suppressed and anguished as her father. Ducart's portrayal of Bruce in his manic moments is both sensitively approached and focused on letting us know his torment. However, the above would still not accuse any of Bruce's own unacceptable actions, at least those depicted here, pertaining to underage men. Allison attempts to comprehend her father's existence when homosexuality was, and to some extent still is, something more to be suppressed. During this exploration, somehow Allison seems inspired, if not rebellious, to openly acknowledge and ultimately embrace her own existence. Music director Jesse Rosso has assembled a fine pit which performs the musical's complex score to perfection. Choreography by Tavon Gamble accentuates the Huntington Theatre musical's few actual dance numbers, like in the aforementioned Welcome to the Fun Home and later in the fun upbeat song Raincoat of Love, and also complemented the rest of the show's staging by Logan Ellis. At a runtime of 1 hour 40 minutes with no intermission, not 1 second is wasted as we become absolutely absorbed in Bechdel's poignant tale and deeply moving memories. Fun Home continues at Huntington Theatre Company until December 14th, 2025, and we encourage you to find your way to the Fun Home. That's the Bechdel Funeral Home, baby, which sits squarely in the space at 264 Huntington Avenue in Boston. Coming up next at the Huntington Theatre venue at the Calderwood Pavilion, 527 Tremont Street, will be We Had a World by Joshua Harmon, which runs from February 12th to March 16th, 2026. For tickets and more information, contact Huntington Theatre Company at huntingtontheatre.org, contact them at 617-266-0800, or visit them in person at the Huntington Theatre, 264 Huntington Avenue in Boston. To read the full review, visit METRMag.com. Lyric Stage Company rings in the holiday season like the Dickens, with a Yuletide blending of iconic characters and superb local talent in A Sherlock Carol. In Mark Shanahan's two-act play, a depressed Sherlock Holmes, played by Paul Melendi, is lifted out of his doldrums when he is asked to solve the mystery of, spoiler alert, the recently departed Ebenezer Scrooge, played by Christopher Chew. Taking place within Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's Sherlock Holmes timeline, the events in the play occur just after the pivotal events of Holmes' last encounter with Professor Moriarty, going over the Reichenbach Falls. It also coincides post the Charles Dickens events of A Christmas Carol, long after Ebenezer Scrooge witnessed his reformation. Now it is Scrooge who is tasked with helping Sherlock reform. As the mashup of iconic characters in Sherlock Carol begins, it is 1894, and a fully grown Tiny Tim himself, now going by Dr. Timothy Cratchit, played by John Vellante, recruits Holmes to explore the death of the now beloved and benevolent Mr. Scrooge. Holmes, having survived the calamitous events of the Falls, appears to be mourning over the loss of his old nemesis, the late Moriarty, with Holmes now believing he no longer has a reason to exist. The challenge is gone, and the one man, albeit an adversary, who was Holmes' equal and made him feel at his best, is now gone forever. And yet Holmes also feels haunted by the spirit of Moriarty on this particular Christmas Eve. Compounding matters, Holmes does not have his longtime colleague, Dr. Watson, played by Mark Linehan, to lean upon this time, as Watson has since moved out, married, and the two once closest of companions now find themselves estranged. So, on this foreboding Christmas Eve, Sherlock must overcome his demons in order to solve a mystery, subsequently rescuing the holidays for the others, and perhaps even for himself. Written by Shanahan, A Sherlock Carol debuted first as a reading in 2019, then as a virtual presentation in 2020, COVID, bah, humbug. Then finally was presented live on stage from 2021 to 2022. Now, Lyric Stage Company offers up the show in fine fashion with a splendid cast, using stunningly visual effects, all while guided under the watchful eye of director Elise Robbins. With the exception of Melende and Chu, the remaining four Lyric Stage Company actors portray multiple characters. Vellante, as Actor 1, portrays Dr. Timothy Cratchit, Mr. Topper, Ralph Fezziwig, and Constable Broadstreet. Michelle Moran, as Actor 2, plays Emma Wiggins, Fanny Gardner, Inspector Lestrade, and Mrs. Windigate. Mark Linehan, as Actor 3, portrays Dr. Watson, the Countess of Morcar, a.k.a. Irene Adler, Henry Burke, and Old Joe Brackenridge. And finally, Lee Barrett, as Actor 4, embodies Martha Cratchit, Mary Morstan, and Abigail Abby Fezziwig. The actors, all exceptionally versatile in their performances, share the task of redressing the stage as needed and render several holiday carols in the process to help keep the spirit of the tale vivid. Costumes, lighting, and effects are equally exceptional. At first, Holmes refuses Dr. Tim Cratchit's request to investigate Ebenezer's passing. Cratchit appeals to Holmes, citing the death as suspicious, particularly considering its timing as Scrooge was updating his will. Holmes is also approached by one of the Barker Street irregulars named Emma, played by Michelle Moran, whose father has been unjustly arrested for robbery. Then Holmes goes backstage at a music hall to visit his old friend, the Countess of Morcar, a.k.a. Irene Adler, Holmes' one true love, and Irene informs Holmes of a stolen precious diamond called the Blue Carbuncle, which she had intended to give to Scrooge as a gift. Learning of these three seemingly unrelated events, all happening now on Christmas Eve, and not one for believing in coincidence, to his brother Mycroft, Holmes once said, "The universe is rarely so lazy." Holmes soon finds himself on the case as the game's afoot. For A Christmas Tale, there is an excess of Easter eggs in Shanahan's A Sherlock Carol in terms of iconic quotes and deep-cut literary references, enough to entertain the greatest aficionados of either Doyle's Holmes or Dickens' Scrooge. Lyric Stage Company's A Sherlock Carol is a spirited holiday story and one that should delight the entire family. A Sherlock Carol continues at Lyric Stage Company until December 21st, and to use a quote from Sir Arthur Conan Doyle's greatest sleuth, there is nothing more deceptive than an obvious fact. And the obvious fact here is that you must not miss this show. After the holidays, up next at Lyric Stage Company will be Penelope by Alex Bechtel, Grace McLean, and Eva Steinmetz, beginning February 6, 2026, and running through March 1st, 2026. For more information and tickets, contact Lyric Stage Company at 617-585-5678 or go to lyricstage.com. To read the full review, visit METRMag.com. Shows continuing during the month of November in Massachusetts include Tick, Tick, Boom by Jonathan Larson at the Umbrella Arts Center in Concord through November 23rd. Sardines, a comedy about death, written and performed by Chris Grace, continues at the Huntington Theater Company in Boston through November 16th. The Beautiful Land I Seek, a.k.a. La Linda Tierra que Busco Yo, by Matthew Barbeau from Teatro Chelsea in Chelsea, Mass., continues through November 16th. Kim's Convenience by Ince Choi continues at the BCA Calderwood at the Huntington Theater Company, Boston, Mass. Through November 30th. Robert Harling's Steel Magnolias is playing at the Majestic Theater in West Springfield through November 30th. Lizard Boy, a new musical by Justin Huertas, it continues at Speakeasy Stage Company in Boston through November 22nd. A Sherlock Carol by Mark Shanahan continues at the Lyric Stage in Boston through December 21st. She Kills Monsters by Keen Yen from Concord Players in Concord, Mass. Runs through November 22nd. Beehive, the 60s musical by Larry Gallagher, continues at the Barnstable Comedy Club in Barnstable, Mass. Through November 23rd. Summer 1976 by David Auburn continues at Central Square Theater in Cambridge through November 30th. Sherlock Holmes and the Case of the Jersey Lily by Katie Forget from Washington Street Players continues in Holliston, Mass. Through November 15th. The Thanksgiving Play by Larissa Fasthorse continues at Burlington Players in Burlington, Mass. Through November 22nd. End Days by Deborah Zoe Laufer continues from City on a Hill Arts in Leominster, Mass. Through November 15th. Harry Potter and the Cursed Child continues at the Emerson Colonial Theater in Boston through December 20th. The musical Fun Home by Janine Tesori, Lisa Krohn, and Alison Bechdel will be performed by the Huntington Theater Company in Boston from November 14th through December 14th. 'Twas the Night Before by Cirque du Soleil will entertain the holiday masses at the Box Center Wang Theater in Boston from November 26th through December 14th. The Nutcracker performs at the Hanover Theater in Worcester from November 28th through November 30th. And Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat by Andrew Lloyd Webber will light up the stage at Theater at the Mount in Gardner from November 28th through December 7th. For tickets or more information on any of these upcoming shows, you can contact the theaters directly or use the links available from the listings at METRMag.com.
So that's about it for this week. So next week being Thanksgiving, don't have a lot of shows coming up, but I don't have any shows coming up really. But soon we'll be getting into the holiday sprint, and we'll have tons of shows, holiday shows that we'll be looking, reviewing for you, and I hope you stay tuned for those. Next week, what we may do is I've been getting a lot of audition notices, and we haven't focused a lot on the audition notices, but we'll post a few for next week, next Friday's episode 13. So I hope you'll come back. And in the meantime, if you have something coming up, either as far as an upcoming performance, please don't send it to me through Facebook or anything else. Send me an email with all the particulars to reviews@metermag.com, and that way I'll be able to get it posted as soon as I possibly can for you, so that we can get you covered, and we'll also try and give you a mention on the podcast as well. We may, since next week will also be the last week of the month, we'll probably start looking at the shows coming up for the month of December. So I hope you come back, and I hope you all have a wonderful Thanksgiving, and thank you all for tuning in, and please keep supporting Massachusetts Theater. Take care. Bye-bye.